Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to The Audio Analyst. Pardon me. Before we delve into today's discussion, I want to thank all my current subscribers and remind any new viewers who may be out there that if you find merit or value in these conversations, if you're enjoying the information I'm sharing here, I would hope that today might be the day that you choose to subscribe. And don't forget to like and share links to your favorite episodes with your friends, or to leave comments and questions. I try to respond to all of them. Should you wish to support my efforts here, and in the process receive exclusive access and content, you may become a patron by using any of the options linked in the comments section below any of the videos. I've set a wide range of Patreon subscription levels to meet any budget or level of generosity. And if a one-time donation makes more sense for you, while that may be done using Patreon, I've also included PayPal and Venmo account info just in case. Guys, your support at any level enables me to continue producing these videos and is sincerely appreciated. So, today's topic was to have been on loudspeaker setup basics. It would have been a discussion about positioning your loudspeakers in your room to get the best overall performance in areas like bass response, integration, sound staging, and imaging. However, this past Tuesday morning, I was finishing up my notes for today's discussion. My colleague and good friend, Bill Parrish of GTT Audio and Video, dropped his bi-weekly Tuesday video, episode 20. Guess what it was about? Yeah, it's titled, How to Properly Place Speakers in Your Listening Room. Guys, what do you imagine is the likelihood that we would both be planning to produce an episode about the same topic in the same week? Crazy. Well, that had me rethink releasing an episode on the same topic in the same week. But the GTT episode 20 is a good watch with great information, and I've provided a link to it here in the comments section. I will add, because it turned out to be a good bit different from what I had planned to present, that I will produce my loudspeaker setup episode for some time in the future. Now, as I look back at this journey since May, when I started the Audio Analyst YouTube channel, I'd like to thank everyone for helping to make this channel the success it has become so far. Guys, I never expected to have this strong a following and to have such an amazing sponsorship of my efforts here and at the Audio Analyst website, at least not so quickly. I had hoped and believed that it would eventually do well, but the results have exceeded even my most ambitious hopes. I can't thank you all enough for helping me to realize this vision and making it successful. And I honestly can't wait to see where we may go together with this. I'd like to offer my sincerest appreciation for the support from my business partners, manufacturers, and businesses who believe in my mission and have been on board since the very start. Companies like AudioNet, Audio Dharma, Critical Mass Systems, GTT Audio, Kronos, Mola Mola, Qobuz, the Valve Amplification Company, and Von Schweikert Audio. Now, looking back, some of the most popular episodes this far have been the reviews, the guilty treasures, and the educational episodes. Now, in the coming months, I'll be presenting more and more reviews. In fact, in October, you should see an episode on a game-changing loudspeaker cable, as well as another one on a highly versatile, remarkably overachieving DAC. And guys, there will be many, many more guilty treasure treatments of recordings, as well as scads more tutorial type episodes. And once this pandemic is behind us and we are able to manage COVID 19 safely, I'll be taking you along with me to international and national audio shows. Now, just this past week, the High End Society of Germany announced the return of High End Munich to the MOC with dates set for May 13th through 16th, 2021. Lou Hinckley and Gary Gill of Capital Audio Fest fame have set the inaugural Pacific Audio Fest for July 30th through August 1st, 2021 at the Doubletree Hilton SeaTac in Seattle, Washington. And Axpona has announced their move from a spring show, traditionally just before Munich, to fall dates of August 27th through the 29th at the Renaissance Schaumburg Hotel and Convention Center in Schaumburg, Illinois. So, assuming the best, I'll be taking you on exclusive tours of some of the best sounding rooms, introducing you to some of the brightest, most gifted designers in our industry. Should be fun. Now, I don't know how you all got drawn into this hobby, but for me, it was the allure and power of the music and the live music experience. I have to tell you that hearing violin virtuoso Jascha Heifetz play his Stradivarius from 8th row center when I was in 8th grade was an utterly unforgettable experience, guys. My God. So today, I thought I'd share a serendipitous event that completely blew me away. So in the fall of 1974, I said goodbye to my photography job with the local daily newspaper, where I had been working as a press photographer and running the processing lab since before I could legally drive a car, and headed off to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh to formalize a degree in photography and filmmaking. Because the Art Institute was located in the downtown business section, it had no provisions for student housing and had arranged accommodations with Duquesne University. So that fall, I moved into the Duquesne Towers, a relatively new student housing complex then that had been built by the university in 1971. Now, as there were a number of art school students living in the towers, several of us would often meet for breakfast in the dining hall, then make the 25-odd minute or so walk to morning's classes downtown as a group. Now, our daily walk took us through the old Market Square every morning at the intersections of Forbes Avenue and Market Street. In the early 70s, there were still vendors selling vegetables and fruits and other wares from open tables set up around the perimeter. And there was an occasional wino or two playing guitar or saxophone for donations. But in the fall of 1974, after crossing the square, as we'd head on down Forbes Avenue, we'd pass a Hare Krishna shop located on the southwest corner of Forbes and Market. To the immediate north of the Krishna shop, along Market, I had spotted a single odd door that was always closed as we passed by on our way at 8 a.m. in the morning during the week. What piqued my curiosity was that there was nothing marking that door save for a small brass plaque, one that I couldn't read as we passed walking on our way down Forbes. So one day, I took a moment to go see what it said. Walt Harper's Jazz Attic was carved in clean block lettering. I didn't really think much about it at the time, but filed it away under miscellanea. Now, it's important to understand that I had been in photography since a very early age, having apprenticed into a professional photo studio run by one of our town's most popular studio photographers by the age of 11. There I had learned to work in numerous medium and large formats and used primarily Graflex Speed Graphic 5x7 sheet film cameras. Guys, I had learned a lot and got quite good. So as a sophomore in high school, I was recruited part-time to cover city, social, and sporting events for my local newspaper. I was also permitted to submit my own spot news and creative photos. And by that time, I was also responsible for all my own film processing and printing, as well as providing most all of the lab work for the rest of the photo staff. And once I graduated high school, they asked me to take over all the staff operations. Now, it was with all this work experience that I enrolled in the Art Institute, and I was, far and away, the most advanced student in any of my classes. So, as such, the materials that were being covered in these early classes left me more than just a little bored. I mean, I knew all this stuff from experience. So listening to theory all day long was beyond boring. It was maddening. And it shouldn't come as any surprise that I soon developed a fast friendship with another significantly advanced student named Kirk, who also resided in the Duquesne dorms. So, one Thursday night in September of '74, after an especially mind-numbing day in class, and after our evening meal, I was restless and wanted to go out to have some fun. I met up with Kirk, and we decided to go downtown to see if we could score some cigars, get into a bar, and maybe even find some young ladies to corrupt, you know? I mean, we really didn't have a plan. We just agreed that we needed to get out. Now, when we reached the market square that night, just past sundown, it was surprisingly busy, with people scurrying everywhere, shopping, dining, partying, whatever. But I was immediately drawn to the sounds from an older cat with his hat on the ground in front of him, fairly full of change, some singles, and even a few fives, singing some amazing blues and playing a sweet-looking dobro. But while Kirk and I were tapping our toes to this cat's music, I happened to look across the square. And damned if that door beside the Krishna shop, the one to Walt Harper's Jazz Attic, the one that was always closed, wasn't opened. Man, I looked at Kirk and announced that we needed to go check that club out. There would be booze, live music, and probably women to flirt with. Now, he was more than just a little unsure, and he even pushed back a bit, trying to talk me out of the whole idea, but I insisted. I told him to just follow my lead. We could always leave if it didn't work out, and he bought that. So, as we approached, we could see that there was a stairway going up, as well as a rather large black man seated at the door. Now, I just rushed in and up to him, asked how much the cover was, paid him for both of us, then almost leapt up the first few steps, somehow managing to pull along the dazed and silent Kirk before the doorman even had a chance to ask for ID. I mean, even though I was just about to celebrate a birthday, we were both still just 18, and the drinking age in Pennsylvania was 21. So we get to the top of the steps, only to discover that we're the only two white cats in the club. I nudged the nearly paralyzed Kirk along as I moved toward a table off to the side, somewhat out of the way, but right near the edge of the stage. And we sat down. Now, just about the time I had Kirk settled down and had explained what a really good time, what a blast we were going to have that evening, another rather large black fellow who was clearly bartending made his way over to our table. Now, with a rather bemused expression, he took a long, assessing look at the two of us, then smiled and said, "What'll it be, boys?" Man, Kirk looked like a deer in headlights, and I was so concerned about getting thrown out that I couldn't think of a thing to say. Our bartender, looking even more amused at this point, leaned in toward me and said, "Boys, you got in. Don't blow it now." Freaked me out. I just blurted out, that we'd have 2 Iron City drafts. But in what seemed like no time at all, the bar had filled to near capacity. Now, I'm sure that they announced the name of the band that night. But for the life of me, all I can remember about them is that They were a small fusion jazz combo from the Oakland area. But damn, they were good. Right from the opening, they were laying down some great sounds. They were tight and clearly used to performing live, and they created a flow and a groove that just drew everyone, even Kirk, completely into the show. Now, it would only be some time later, as I learned more about jazz, that I would be able to identify some of those songs as covers from bands like Weather Report and Return to Forever. But about 3 or 4 songs into their first set, there was some distraction off stage. They lost their flow for just a moment, and I noticed that some of the members were looking off backstage. Now, when they finished that song, the singer stepped into the mic and said, "Sorry for the commotion, folks, but a good friend of ours just showed up. We didn't know he was coming, but he's asked if he can come out and jam with us for a while tonight. Can I get a big hand for our friend, Miles Davis?" Holy crap. I mean, as you can imagine, the place erupted into applause and shouts. Kirk turned to me with a blank look and said, "Who's that?" I just gave him a dirty look and said, "Shut up, we'll talk later. Get ready to be blown away." Miles made his way out on stage, gave a half-hearted faint wave to the crowd, the frantic crowd. And for about the next hour, I sat some 30-odd feet away from one of the most influential and acclaimed figures in the history of jazz and 20th century music. Guys, I have to tell you, it all feels like a dream now. But by the time the show was over, we had a pretty good buzz on, and like everyone else there, realized that we had been in the presence of greatness, that we had received an amazing gift. Everyone in the club was shaking hands, hugging, high-fiving, and smiling in amazement. What a supremely magical night. And what a pure stroke of luck, having been out on a whim and stumbling into an impromptu evening with Miles Davis. Now, I was still pretty new to jazz, and even though I knew about Miles, I'm sorry to say that I can't recall more specifics about the band or the songs that were played. And to be honest, to this day, I'm still not really a jazz fan. I know, sacrilege, right? An audiophile that's not into jazz. Sorry, I'm more of a rock, blues, and classical cat. That's just how it works out sometimes. But one of my dearest friends on the planet is Dr. Jim Murad, a professor of American literature at the Soka University in Aliso Viejo, California. As well as having taught at Brown, Brandeis, Cornell, Stanford, and UCLA, Jim is a monster in the jazz world, having authored any number of books on the subject, and he has been a jazz and blues recording and mastering engineer for decades with his own label, Blueport Jazz. His recording credits include names like Tito Puente, Tierney Sutton, John Hicks, Hank Jones, Joe Lovano, Tommy Flanagan, Art Farmer, Charles McPherson, Clifford Jordan, Sarah Vaughan, Wynton Marsalis, Ella Fitzgerald, Stan Getz, and way too many more to go into at this time. It's just too many to list here. Now, I've included a link to a film made about him in the comments section. Be sure to check it out. It's a fascinating profile of an amazing cat. But when I shared this story with him while visiting his San Diego home some decade and a half ago now, not only did it bring a huge smile to his face, but after considering the timeline of the event, he offered, "I'm betting the bass player that night was Stanley Clarke." I didn't even know it. Guys, I have been so very fortunate to have had many such profound and moving experiences over the years. all of which have only served to stoke my passion for this hobby. And they have driven me to assemble the very best possible system in an effort to recreate some semblance of that degree of emotion and power in my home. It is my sincerest hope that you all have had, or will have, many similar transformative musical experiences. Hope you enjoyed the story. With that, I'd like to offer you all my sincerest thanks for taking the time to drop by and visit today. Remember to subscribe and to like and share your favorite episodes, as well as to post your comments and questions. Please stay safe and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.